Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So first off, I am super excited because guess what? If you can't tell, I got some new lighting and I'm so excited because before my lighting in my room was like super yellow and super warm and it was hard to see anything true to color. So I guess I'm moving on up. But I am so excited to also announce that I have reached over 100 subscribers, and I know that's really not a lot, but for me it is a little bit of a milestone because I didn't really think I could even do YouTube at all and get anyone's attention with it, or get anyone to subscribe to my channel or anything. So I'm just so excited. I just want to say thank you to all of you for subscribing to my channel and watching my videos and showing me all the love and support, and I just love you guys and I'm so grateful. With that being said, lately I've been posting a lot of makeup related videos, but today I wanted to do something more health related because I feel like it's been a while since I've done one of my health talks. And for those of you who don't know, I have a chronic condition called chronic fatigue syndrome, and today is actually kind of a better day with my symptoms, so I thought it would be a good chance to sit down and just talk to you guys and give you guys more information about this condition. I know that I did a video a few months back. This was actually one of my first or second videos, and it was me talking about how I got chronic fatigue syndrome. And for the most part, I talked about what it's like living with it, but I feel like I didn't get a chance to get more into depth about it because I didn't want to make like a 2-hour video about that. So I figured since today is a little bit of a better day with my symptoms, it'd be the perfect opportunity to talk to you guys what it's really like living with chronic fatigue. So I guess I'll just get right into it. Basically, for me, living with chronic fatigue syndrome has been like this up and down battle. And it's hard to explain because everyone thinks like having chronic fatigue syndrome, aka CFS, is just a condition where you're tired all the time. And you know, I talk about this in my other video, but like I said before, it is so much more than just being tired. It comes with so many symptoms. Like, you're not just waking up feeling like you haven't slept. You're waking up feeling like you just have complete exhaustion in your body. Not to mention a handful of other symptoms. And for me, when I first got sick, I didn't feel the fatigue at first, which is like super weird. I actually had a bunch of other symptoms that kind of led up to the point of where I was so sick I was bedridden. And even before I technically got sick and I was functioning and working and going to school and living a normal life, I felt like something was always off in my body. I never felt good. I never had energy. And it's not like I'm an old lady. Like I'm 25 years old, and I feel like this all started when I was in high school and just gradually got worse over the years, especially after I turned 18. That's when things started really going downhill. And what was really interesting is that a lot of the symptoms that I had before I initially got sick to the point where I was diagnosed with CFS is that most of my symptoms I had were just like things that I thought were everyday symptoms that people my age have. You know, the main thing I dealt with every day were chronic headaches, and at the time the doctor told me they were just tension headaches because I had a ton of muscle tension in my shoulders, and I really feel like they were more like migraines because I would have days where the pain would be so intense that I would just be so dizzy I could hardly open my eyes from the pain and the pressure being just completely locked up in my head. And not to mention, I was constantly getting sick. I was constantly getting colds and flus. And like I said, some of this stuff I'm going to repeat that I've already talked about in my prior video. But I just wanted to reiterate that you should always listen to your body and always pay attention to what your body is trying to tell you. I went so many years without even paying attention to these symptoms, and people always telling me that, oh, none of us feel good, or, you know, when you're working and going to school, it's normal to be as exhausted as you are. And I really don't think that's the case now, because I look at people who take care of their bodies, and I look at people who actually work on themselves, and they have all the energy in the world, and they can just keep going and going like a machine, and they're fine. So with that being said, just please always pay attention to the symptoms in your body. And if you're feeling like something is off, don't be afraid to go to the doctor and get things checked out, and make smart choices for your body as well. So living with chronic fatigue syndrome has definitely been the hardest thing of my life. And I'm not just saying this for like pity or attention or anything like that. I just want to bring awareness to this condition because it is so misunderstood in so many ways. And it sucks because the name chronic fatigue syndrome just sounds so ridiculous and so made up. I have so many people just asking me like, oh, so you just get tired easily, or you're just tired all the time? Like, I'm tired all the time, you know? And that's what's frustrating. Like I said, CFS has so many symptoms, and that includes brain fog, muscle pain, joint pain, insomnia, food intolerances, digestive disorders, and the list goes on and on and on. And for me, when this all started, I developed a stomach virus, and that triggered the debilitating symptoms to the point where I had to stop working and I had to stop going to school. And I'm trying not to get too much into my story of how I got CFS because I already did that. But my point is that there was this trigger in my body that just set off all of these symptoms to a point where I couldn't function. So I'm gonna just kind of go down the line and tell you what I have experienced. And not everyone with CFS is gonna experience the same symptoms or have the same story. So when I first had the stomach virus, that is when I was completely nauseous 24/7. I would go through those like bottles of nausea medicine that you get from the drugstore. I would go through one bottle a week, and that went on for about almost 3 months. And eventually, like, I saw a nutritionist, got all of my digestive issues taken care of, and it got me to a point where I was functioning a little bit better. I wasn't well enough to go to work, but I was functioning enough where I could drive and I could hang out with friends for a really short period of time, but I felt like garbage during this time. And this is before I knew I had CFS. I just knew that something was wrong with my body, and for whatever reason, this virus I had triggered everything. And I remember I'd be hanging out with my friends, and the whole time I'd be standing there like I felt so disoriented and so dizzy, and I'd be profusely sweating. You couldn't see it, and you wouldn't be able to notice it like seeing me, but I could just feel it in my body, just like that, almost like that feeling that you have when you have a cold or a flu and you're just trying to muster through it and, go about your day, but the symptoms are there and you feel horrible, but you're just pushing through and you're doing everything you can to just get through your time with your friends and to have a good time and just to like ignore all those symptoms. And I remember when I would be out with my friends, like, it was hard because I wanted to spend time with them and I wanted to go to school and I wanted to go to work, but I couldn't do these things because my body felt like it was shutting down on me. And I can't even describe to you like the sense of malaise that my body was feeling. And it was kind of like being hungover while having a flu while not sleeping for like 3 days in a row. And I'm not even exaggerating that. Like, it was just completely miserable. And that was when I was functioning at an okay level to where I could have somewhat of a life, but it was still to a point where I wasn't seeing anyone that much. It was very isolating, very lonely, and I spent a lot of time here in my room trying to keep distracted and trying to keep busy, trying to stay distracted. I would do my artwork. I would just like binge watch Netflix shows because I was trying to do anything to keep my mind off of my body and what it was feeling. And it was super scary at this time because, like I said, I was misdiagnosed at first and I had no idea what was truly going on. Once I hit the point where I was ready to go seek help out of state because I couldn't find a doctor to treat me, I was to the point where like I would do anything to get well. So I was really pushing myself to a point where it led me to becoming bedridden. And I'm gonna keep referring back to the video that I made first about how I got CFS. When I went to Arizona to see the naturopath doctor, that's when things really went south. I really think it's because my nervous system was just so off balance from the chronic fatigue syndrome. And prior to all this, I have dealt with anxiety since I was 14 years old. I have generalized anxiety disorder. I've been diagnosed with it. I'm on medication for it. And I really feel like that anxiety and all the stress that I've gone throughout my life has really played a part into what I have gone through with chronic fatigue syndrome. My point is that being stressed and having anxiety and having all of those kind of symptoms and having a nervous system that is completely off balance from years of not taking care of yourself, from years of stress and trauma and anything that you've gone through, it really, really wreaks havoc on your body. That's why it is so important to get ahead of these things, whether it be a mental illness or a stressor in your life or a trauma that you went through. So when I went to Arizona and I had 2 nights of no sleep, like 100% no sleep, and I had about 4 panic attacks while I was there. And these were not normal panic attacks that I was having. These were like beyond what I have experienced while having generalized anxiety disorder. Like something was just completely off in my body. And when I had those panic attacks, that is when my body just completely started shutting down on me even more. When I came back from Arizona within 2 weeks, I specifically remember this one day. I was driving in my car and I don't remember where I was coming from, but I remember driving and feeling like I couldn't even hold my body up. Like I was like this because my body was so weak and exhausted. And that's when I knew like something is not right. Things are getting worse and I have no idea what is going on. And mind you, at this point, I had been told that I had a thyroid disease because the doctors I was seeing, they didn't know what they were talking about. They're quacks. And, you know, I mean, you get to a point where you're willing to see anyone because you know something is wrong in your body, but Western medicine has nothing to offer you because they cannot figure out or invest the time into you as a patient, because unfortunately that is just how our medical system is. And it's so frustrating because you know when something is wrong with your body, you know when something is off, and you just want more than anything for someone to just tell you what is wrong with you. And I was at the point where I didn't even care anymore what the diagnosis was. I just wanted answers because I know I did not have thyroid disease, yet these doctors were telling me. So it's like I kind of just tricked myself into believing like this is what it is. I mean, I guess this is what's going on. I just have to trust the doctors. And you know, I'm not here to bash any naturopaths or any alternative medicine doctors because I think they are great, but it is a matter of finding one that knows what they're doing, that knows their stuff, and that will take the time to invest in you as a patient. And that was my problem. The doctor I was seeing was not taking time to invest in me as a patient. So sorry to get a little sidetracked about the naturopaths and the doctors and everything, but my point is that after that appointment from the naturopath in Arizona, that's when things got really, really bad. I had that incident when I was driving and I felt so weak and so exhausted and run down, and I remember that's when those panic attacks started happening again, really bad. And in fact, it was actually 2 years ago around this time. And it's crazy because I remember like being so sick and having these panic attacks were so debilitating. I would like, oh, I can't even explain it. You feel like you're dying, and I'm not exaggerating that. You feel like you are dying. And like I said, I've had generalized anxiety disorder since I was 14, and I'm 25 years old now, and I know what a panic attack feels like. I know what to do to get myself out of one, and I know how to handle it, but this was completely different. It was just like something I have never experienced before in my life. And as those panic attacks were happening, I got to a point where I was taking an anti-anxiety every single time I was having a panic attack, and they did start to help. Until one day I woke up, I sat up in my bed, and the room was spinning. And in my mind at the time, I thought, okay, maybe this is just a side effect from the medication, so I'm gonna wean myself off of it. So I started to wean myself off of it, and within that week, I couldn't walk more than 30 seconds without getting exhausted. I was seeing a nutritionist here where I live, and she had been seeing me for a good 8 months and had helped me heal a lot of my gut issues and put me on a lot of supplements that were really, really healing for me. And I remember the last time I went to her appointment, I had to get ready before the appointment, and I couldn't take a shower because I was so weak and exhausted. It was like someone had sucked the life out of me, or like someone had stuck an IV in me, put it on reverse, and took everything out of me. And I remember having to sit down in the bathtub to wash my hair, and I had to go back to bed after the bath because I was so exhausted after taking just a bath. And I went to my appointment at the nutritionist, and I was there for no more than 10 minutes and I almost passed out. And my mom had to drive me, and when I got home, she had to help me into the house. I had to hold on to her, and she sat me down in the recliner at home. And I remember just laying there, and the room was just spinning in circles. Like, it was the worst vertigo I have ever experienced in my life. And at this point, I was terrified because I had never felt these kind of symptoms in my body, and I knew something was terribly wrong. And after numerous ER visits and seeing specialist after specialist and finally finding a doctor that was willing to listen and actually run the proper testing and examine me and evaluate me and everything, I finally got the diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome. So living with this condition has completely changed my life 150%. I am still not driving. Obviously, I'm doing better because I'm able to sit here and talk to you guys. I'm able to do these makeup videos. And like I've talked about in my prior video, I am in a recovery program, which I'll link the information for in the box down below. And that has been the best thing for me. Living with this condition has been miserable. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's been really, really miserable, and it sucks. I want more than anything to live my life, to be with my friends, to get married, to have kids, to travel, to drive, even just go to work, even just to clean my room without getting exhausted, or do my laundry without feeling like I have to rest after, would just mean so much to me. And it's funny how when you're healthy, you take those things for granted. And I know I did for so long. I would always complain about doing my laundry, and I would always get like road rage, and I'd hate driving, and just like all these little things that I never thought that one day I would appreciate so much. And that's why I refuse to accept that this is gonna be my forever. I really don't believe that. And there's so many people out there that say, I have yet to meet someone who's ever recovered from this condition. Someone told me that once, and it was really, really disheartening. And people will start to believe that. And I get it. Some people with chronic conditions may never get well, and that is really unfortunate. And some conditions are like that. But I really believe with chronic fatigue syndrome, there is hope and there is ways to heal. So I have had to learn to live my life around this illness, and it's not fun. There's nothing about it that's fun. It's not like this glorious thing where I just get to sit around all day and watch TV and just relax all the time. When I'm laying in bed, that's because I'm having a flare-up. That's because I cannot walk more than a few minutes without feeling like I've ran a mile. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. And luckily, that has improved. I'm having less days like that. Like, for instance, yesterday, I was in bed 80% of my day. I could hardly get up. I was so sick. I was curled up in a ball. Couldn't do my makeup, couldn't do my hair, could hardly get dressed. But today I was able to do my hair, my makeup, film this video. I was able to go on a drive with my mom to get coffee and to go see my grandma. Like, it's just crazy to me how this condition just is so unpredictable. You can have a day where you're not feeling that bad. The symptoms are there, but you can muster through them. Or you can have a day where you're so flared up that you can't get out of bed, and you have, like when I was at my worst, my mom had to cut my food for me. I almost felt so degraded as a human, and I felt so low at this point because I was a young woman, and I thought, in your early 20s, you're supposed to be living your life, and that's when you're supposed to be feeling your best and traveling and doing all kinds of things. And I'm sitting here in bed because I cannot move, and my mom's having to cut up my meat for me. And yeah, that's even embarrassing to talk about, but I just want to bring awareness to this because it's not okay. It's the medical system needs to have proper funding for chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia and any of these kind of chronic illnesses, whether it be lupus, MS, any of them. And I just feel so frustrated with the medical community and just the lack of funding, the lack of understanding, the lack of research that is put into a condition that affects over 2 million Americans and 17 million people worldwide. And yeah, I know I look well. I know I look healthy. Honestly, I look healthier now than I did even before I got sick. But that's because I've learned to take care of my body, and I work on a sleep schedule. I meditate. I do yoga as much as I can. It's very, very gentle yoga, and I eat healthy, and I'm doing all these things I can for my body. Yeah, I have this invisible illness inside of me that is just eating at my life, and it really does play a mental and emotional toll on you. It's just totally like counterintuitive, because high levels of stress and high levels of emotion can make you flare up with chronic fatigue syndrome or even other conditions like fibromyalgia, lupus, etc. So like I said, I've really had to learn to live my life around this condition, and being in the recovery program has been the biggest part of it. I mean, this time last year, I think I was only walking about 4 or 5 minutes before I would get exhausted, and as of recently, I am up to over a 15-minute walk, which means I can go once around my block in my neighborhood, which is awesome because I used to love walking my dog every day. Like, that was my thing, and now I'm able to do that. And it sucks because the symptoms are still there, and I want to just be able to do whatever I want. I want to drive. I want to go to work so bad. Like, work is something I miss the most. I miss going out of town with my boyfriend and my family, and being out with my friends, going to shows, and just doing all the things that I used to love. And it has really taken so much from me. But you know what? Like, in a way, I'm really happy that I've gone through this because it has made me such a strong person, and it has made me appreciate so many things in my life that I once took for granted. And it's funny because now, like, when I go get coffee with my boyfriend or a friend, or I am able to go get dinner, which is a recent thing I actually just started doing, and I'll get into that in a second. I just get so excited. I savor that drink that I'm getting, or I savor that food or that moment, and I stay off my phone, and I just live in that moment because I have spent almost 3 years of my life now in this house being housebound, and those little tiny things are just huge to me. And I feel like so many people don't realize that until they have gone through something really detrimental. And like I said, more recently, I went to dinner with my boyfriend for the first time in almost 3 years. And we were able to go to one of our favorite restaurants, and I was on top of the world in that moment because it is something we haven't done in so long, and it is something I've missed for years now. And it really sucked not being able to go on a real date with my boyfriend, and we have had to spend half of our relationship with me being sick. And he has been amazing, and he has sat there with me through my hardest nights, even the nights where I cannot move in my bed. He sits there with me, watches Netflix, brings me tea, comforts me, and that's why it is so important to have a good support system when you are going through something, even if it's not a chronic illness. Like, even if it's just like a regular life stressor, it's always good to have a good support system. And when living with a chronic illness, I know so many of you out there who have CFS or chronic illness will understand this, will understand what I'm about to say. It's frustrating when a friend or your family or anyone invites you out to an event, or even something as simple as going to a movie or anything, and you can't do it because your body is prohibiting that, and you are not at a point where you can function at that level, and you want more than anything to say yes, of course. Like, you don't want to be sitting at home, like, just feeling sick and having to just be by yourself. Like, you want to be out in the world. And I think that's where so many people misunderstand a chronic illness, is that they think that we are wallowing in our illness, or we are just bowing down to it, when really it's a disability. And just because someone is not in a wheelchair, or someone is not using crutches, or someone looks perfectly healthy, doesn't mean that they're not going through something. And that's why it's so important to have compassion on people, and to try to understand people's struggles and try to be there for them. And even if you don't understand their struggles, support them and help them, or at least try to understand. Because I'm telling you, no one wants to live with a chronic illness. Having to revolve your life around symptoms is miserable. I feel so fortunate and blessed that I am recovering, and I know I have a ways to go, a long ways to go, but I am doing more than I have since I've been sick, and I'm really blessed and happy about that. but it still doesn't make it any easier. And, you know, it's hard. It's really hard, especially, and I almost want to say it's almost harder like when you're recovering or you are doing better, because you kind of do realize what your limitations really are, and it sucks. Like how I told you today, I was able to film this video, do my hair and makeup, and go see my grandma, but tomorrow I might be paying for it, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to, and I hope to God I'm not going to, but I might be having to be in that bed tomorrow because CFS is just so unpredictable. And on a side note, this might be a little off topic, but it just popped into my head, and I feel like I am compelled to tell you guys this. If you are going through an illness, whether it be a mental illness or a physical illness, be sure to try to get out of bed every day and put clothes on. I know that sounds like okay, like what's that gonna do? But I'm telling you, it really does make a difference. When I was at my worst, I would stay in the same pajamas for almost 4 days, and I couldn't shower. I could hardly brush my teeth. I know that is disgusting, but I could not brush my teeth without getting exhausted. And I would be in sweats and a hoodie for up to 4 days, because 4 days straight without changing, because I was just so sick. But once I realized, like, I need to not let this illness control me, and yeah, getting dressed is still hard, but I'm just gonna do it, and if I have to rest after, then I'm gonna rest. So the first thing I do every single morning, no matter how bad I feel, even if I know that my symptoms are really bad that day and I might be bedridden for the day, I'm gonna get dressed, because I don't want that feeling of sickness on me. I want to be able to control what I can control. And that is why I do my makeup every day. That is why I post these makeup videos. And I'm so passionate about doing makeup, because I am an artist. I do art, I paint, I draw, and everything. And that is another thing that CFS has taken away from me. Because of my brain fog being so severe, drawing for more than a couple minutes makes me very, very exhausted. But for some reason, doing my makeup and getting in a routine of doing my makeup every day has been so healing for me. I know that sounds crazy, and listen, I am all for not wearing makeup. I go days without wearing makeup sometimes, and it feels great, but for some reason, like, doing my makeup every day has made me feel more human. I know it sounds weird, but like, it makes me feel less sick in a way, because I see myself with the makeup, and it makes me, I feel like it just makes me look more bright and awake, even though I don't feel that way. And, you know, it kind of makes it a little harder, because then people like really think like I'm not sick, because makeup just, you know, kind of covers that up. But you know what? I don't care. Like, this is something that has been really, truly healing to me. And I know that sounds so weird, and I'm not trying to sound superficial or like saying that, oh, you need to wear makeup to feel good or whatever, because that is 100% not the case. I'm just saying, for me, like, getting ready when I can, when I feel like my body is able to, which took a long time to get to, it just has helped my healing overall. I mean, I used to be to the point where if I did my makeup and just like did a little bit of foundation and mascara, I would be in bed for another 3 hours. Like, that's how severe it was when I was at my worst. So to say that like I'm able to do my makeup and my hair every day now, and it does help my healing, is something I'm really proud of and really, really happy about. And I know that's a little bit off subject, but I just wanted to touch on that a little, because I think self-care is so important when it comes to healing, whether it be from a mental illness or a physical illness. And, you know, it's something about it really just makes you feel good. Even doing your nails, or doing a face mask, or taking a bath, and having time to yourself. And that's also why I meditate every day, because I want to calm my nervous system. And you know, same with doing gentle yoga. Like, I'm not that good at it at all, but it has helped. And that's why living with this condition is something I'm not choosing to adapt to. I just feel like I've had to adapt to it, because I really have no other choice. It's either I quit fighting and I just say, okay, I'm never gonna get well, and I give up, or I try to find things that work for me and things that have helped me. which is also why things like essential oils and my salt lamp and eating healthy and taking different supplements and eating different foods that have been healing for me, that is why those things have all helped. And that's why when you have a chronic condition, you have to just kind of learn to work around it until you are well. Or like I said, if it's something that, you know, is known to not be curable, well, I don't want to say curable, but something that's not meant to be, something that's known not to be, you know, something that goes away eventually, you know, that's why it's important to do the things that, you know, that help you and that make your life a little bit more comfortable while going through the illness. And having set structure every single day has been one of the biggest parts of my healing. I go to bed at the same time every night. I set my alarm, even though I'm home most of the time, and you know, I go to my boyfriend's a couple times a week with him driving, but that's about it. And you know, I still set my alarm in the morning. I get up, I get dressed, I eat some breakfast. You know, I just try to have that structure because I feel like without it, it just, I don't know, it before it made my life feel very empty. And yeah, my life does feel a little bit empty in some ways still. You know, I miss my friends and miss traveling and just doing all the things that I used to love. But I really truly believe that those days are coming, and I believe that anything's possible, and my hopes will always be high. And I still have my negative days. I have days where I'm crying and I cannot stop crying. I have days where I'm just so fed up, I just don't want to go on, but I know I have no other choice. And that is why it is so important to make the best of any situation that you're in. And yeah, I mean, no matter how hard it is, no matter how crappy it is, like, it's so important to just try to have a good mindset. And I know that's hard. Like, I get it. Like, having a good mindset isn't going to cure anything. It's not going to heal you, but it helps, you know. And what other choice do you have? That's the way I see it. So with that being said, I hope that kind of gives you guys some insight on what it's like living with a chronic illness. I don't know if I'm making sense in this video at all. I'm kind of going off of the top of my head. I didn't even really know what to talk about, like, when I sat down to make this video. I just knew I kind of wanted to bring more awareness to chronic fatigue syndrome and other health issues, and what it's truly like living with a chronic illness every day. And I can't wait for the day where I'm walking without feeling exhausted and I'm able to talk without taking breaks. I've taken a ton of breaks while making this video, but thank God for editing. I cut it out. You know, I am excited to get my life back, and I really believe it'll be better than it ever was before. And I believe that for you guys too, if you are going through a chronic condition or any type of a situation in your life that has made your living situation or just made your life different. And with that being said, I just want to say thanks again for subscribing to my channel. And if you haven't already, click that button below and please give this video a big thumbs up. And let me know in the comments below if you guys have any recommendations for people who might be watching this video. And if you have any recommendations when it comes to healing and your health and just how you live with a chronic illness or a mental illness or anything like that. And just a little side note, I have a lot of fun videos coming up and some fun Halloween tutorials, and I might be going to visit one of my best friends in November, and I will be vlogging that. She also has chronic fatigue syndrome and a few other things going on, and she has definitely gone through so much and has gone through the ringer and is currently going to be starting some treatment on Monday. And she does have a GoFundMe, and I will link that in the box below. Go donate to her cause because she is an amazing person. Her name is Chelsea, and she is just so beautiful inside and out. And I met her through the recovery program I am in, and she has become one of my best friends, and she deserves to get well. So I will also link down her YouTube channel, and you guys can go subscribe to her channel as well and watch some of her videos. And yeah, that would be amazing if you guys did that. So I hope you guys are all having a great day and an awesome week. Please always stay hopeful and never give up. Whatever you are going through, never give up. I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys next time.